me. Mem Zayin base. 94. Halacha base. Okay, nice easy Gemaras tonight. Nafal and Achasim. It really is. If you have to prepare your bavas in the morning, you're looking forward to something easy at night.
Even your bavas Yerushalmi is easy.
Yeah. The Nafal and Achasim Mishanises. You're right. It really strikes home that the bavas Yerushalmi was easier than Bavli. I mean, I guess there are the passages, but really, Nafal and Achasim Mishanises. The property fell to a woman after she got married. Fully married, right? Chup and Kiddushin. Elu ve'elu modim. Everybody agrees. The Amoraim, the Tanaim previous Mishnah, Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Gamliel, they agree. She mochav enough that if she sells that property, motzi al kuchos, the husband the husband extricates that property from the people who bought from her because it's totally under his jurisdiction. Even though after she gets divorced, the widowed, it goes back to her, but during the marriage, it's totally under his jurisdiction. Okay? There are questions like this. Actually, says the property fell to her before while she was betrothed, after Kiddushin, but before the Suin, before the Chuppah. Then says, and then she underwent the Chuppah. And Gamliel says, if she sells and gives that property, even after she's married, fully married, Kayam, that's a valid transaction on her part. She retains rights to that. Said, said in front of Gamliel, how can you say the Torah was Zocha B'Isha? When he acquires the woman, Lo Zochim Nechosim, doesn't he acquire the property? So he said to him, Al Chadashim Anu Boshim. We are embarrassed that property that she gets after she's fully married, her husband has complete jurisdiction. You're requiring us even to give full jurisdiction to the husband on property which fell to her before she got fully married. Gamliel seems to be more forward thinking in his social legislation. He says it's true that the property she gets after marriage, full marriage, that he has jurisdiction over. But he wants to eliminate from his jurisdiction the property which she gets before she's fully married, even after she's betrothed. Okay? Says Anantina, we learned in our Mishnah, the way to learn our Mishnah is Mocheres v'nosenes kayom. Mocheres v'nosenes v'kayom. Gordon Gamliel, not only b'di'eved, but even l'chatchila, property which fell to her during the period of her betrothal, she can sell after she's fully married. Okay? Even l'chatchila, right? Kind of Reb Chia taught us in the Brayso, lo timkor v'lo titain, he argues. He says that even according to Gamliel, it's only b'di'eved. The chatchila, before the fact, she may not sell and may not give the property which fell to her while she was betrothed. Only after the fact, the machrov enough, if she did so, kayim, then it is sustained. Amrei v'chayim ben Akavir, Chaim ben Akavir said, lo kene Shimon Gamliel. And Gamliel did not respond as is recorded in our Mishnah, that we're embarrassed about the property which fell to her after marriage, after full marriage, that she has no jurisdiction over. We're not going to give him full jurisdiction over property which fell to her during the period of betrothal. Not like that did Rabbi Gamliel respond, as is recorded in Mishnah. Elakeni Shivon, this is how Rabbi Gamliel responded. He said, Noem Amarta Barusa. Do not compare the case where she, do not compare our case, where the property fell to her when she was only betrothed, at which point in life, Sheino Zakai, the husband, is not yet entitled, Lobim Tziosa, not to things she finds, V'lo Masaya, nor to things she produces, V'lo Ba'fer, nor may he annul or vows. So property which she falls to at that time is not similar, Tomar, that you can compare it, that you can say that it's comparable to Nesuah, the property which fell to when she's fully married. Shuzaka and Tziosa, which time he's allowed to keep the things she finds. Uvamaisia there, and allowed to keep her handiwork. Ubafin and is allowed to annul her vows. But Vadmoidelanu. I'm sorry. First and door. Amalo. So they said to him, look. That's what Gamliel said. They said to Gamliel, Hare ad shaloni says, V'ni says tochiach. Let's talk about what happens when she gets married. There's a difference. Let's talk about property which fell to her before she got married, when she was betrothed, before full marriage, then got full marriage. After all, the full marriage is the turning point. That's what makes him, Zakai B'Mtziasa, entitled to things she finds. And her handiwork. And to annul her vows. So, ad moidelanu, and you agree that property which fell to her while she was betrothed, after she's fully married, according to the way Rabbi Chia read the Mishnah, you agree that l'chatchila she shouldn't sell. You agree to us about that, because you agree to us that there's a distinction between before full marriage and after full marriage. And that just like the distinctions based on what she finds and what she produces and so on and so forth, so too there should be a distinction in what she can do with her property, that at least the chatchila she shouldn't sell it, if not b'di'evet, right? So if that's the case, why don't you concede to us the next step and concede to us that you can't sell it at all? Says, no, not true. I draw a line. I only concede to you up to that point. That it's preferable not for her not to sell and not to give, but in kaim. If she did it, b'di'evet, it's over. That's the state. Asa uvdu kum Rabbi good evening. Asa, you don't know what you're missing in the morning. Asa uvdu kum Rabbi Ami.
I think I do though. How come the Gemara doesn't use the analogy of Bas Kohen, who is still giving truma while she's betrothed for the full marriage?
She can't.
I thought she
Chooses that, right?
She doesn't eat in her father's house?
No. No. Once she's arusa to a Yisrael, she loses that right.
Oh. So then, why didn't the Gemara use it the other way around?
Yeah, it could be, because all this legislation, I'll tell you why. Because that's the Raisa. And all this legislation, a woman is deprived of her property rights only the Rabbanan. The Torah never deprived women of their property rights. This whole concept of what a woman buys her husband rights, the rabbis deprived of her of it, and then they gave it back to her, little by little under certain circumstances. So they can't really argue from a Doraisa, okay, like that, like Vasco. They can say, well, marriage is more of a relationship than therefore you should have more jurisdiction. But since this whole concept is the Rabbanah, because the Raisa, the only thing a man acquires when he acquires a woman is her issues, the rights to perform pruvu with her. Right? That's the only thing he acquires. Now, he acquires that, with a lockhold, right? Because he can divorce her. She can't divorce him. But everything else, she's really midoraisa. There's no ownership of her. So it's all the rabbanim. Okay? So that's why they didn't bring such comparisons. So in any event, a case came from Rabbi Ami, and of a woman who sold the property which she brought into the marriage but fell to when she was betrothed. So according to Rabbi Gamliel, it's okay, but the evidence at least is legit. According to Rabbanan, it's not okay, it's not legit. So he said, Rabbi said, is it not an individual opinion? We don't rely upon him, and therefore her sale is null and void. Masisim Saile, there's a brisa which indicates, which agrees with Rabbi Ami, who probably love it and argues with him, but not in a way which renders him ineffective, only in a very minor point, and the Gemara is going to bring them down. What's the Mishnah? The Mishnah says, Rabbi Seinu Chazru v'nimnu, our rabbis returned and voted, v'horu and they paskin, the Chazim shenafu l'achelon, he says that property which fell to her before she got married, fully married, in other words, when she was betrothed without chuppah yet, and he says then she got a chuppah afterwards, shalotim karveloti tain, she may not sell them nor give them as gifts. If she gave them or sold them or gave them as gifts, nechra batel, the kid's sale is null and void. Now Messiah, that Messiah lay nechra batel. The fact that it says her sale is null and void, that's like Rabbi Ami who said we don't pass on Gamliel. Clear love it. There's a little bit of an aspect which is a machlokas here. How it's that Rabbi Seinu chazu v'hoihu v'nimnu. It says that our rabbis returned and voted and came to this conclusion. It sounds like it's not before Rabbi Gamliel, before the rabbis returned to vote, so they agreed with Gamliel. At least they didn't disagree with him enough that they should paskin against it. Rabbi Yami was under the impression that the rabbis from the get-go disagreed with Rabbi Gamliel, and they were the majority, and if we pass like them. This price indicates that from the get-go they did not disagree with him. It's only later that they came to the conclusion that they argued with him and decided to cancel his position. Nevertheless, Rabbi Yami was correct in that we paskin that even if she sells, even b'diavad, if she sold, if she gave, it's not a valid transaction. The husband has the right to revoke it. Okay? Rabbi Shimon draws a distinction, an interesting distinction, between the chasim between property and property. The chasim ha'yeduim, property which is known unto the labal, to the husband, lo timchor, she may not sell. If she sold or gave, batel, it's null and void. Shein yedui labal, however, if the husband does not know about the property, lo timchor, it's her Swiss bank account. Well, timkar, she may not sell it. She shouldn't give it to the husband. But if she did sell it or give it, kaim is a valid transaction. Okay, so all women should keep Swiss bank accounts. Okay, that's what it comes about. Rabbi Yochanan, what's the property known to him? What's the property unknown to him? So Rabbi Yochanan proposes that nechasim you're labal, what's known to the husband, elu karkos, that's real estate. And therefore herself that knows the void. Shein about that without is not known to the husband, elam metalti, and that's chattel, owned objects, and there her sale is valid. Okay, Rabbi Yisrael slightly different dichotomy. As a matter of fact, one which we would find more in line with Posh Pshat. The chasmei deal about those who are known to the husband, el shenaflo b'shus habal, those who are known to the husband because they fell to her on his watch. She inherited them when she was already his husband. Well, actually, I take it back. When the husband is around and knows about it happening, those are not known to the husband. Those which fell to her, conveniently when her husband was in Chutz La'aretz. So she never, what he doesn't know can't hurt him. Right.
Something about Rabbi Yochanan, isn't it based upon like coal, the idea of karkos and coal or something?
I would assume so. Yeah. The Korban those says slightly different. The Korban Moshe say that when he married her with the intent of getting her real estate. He didn't marry her with the intent of getting all her objects. And it's kind of like Das Abal, that he has in mind real estate and not objects. Anyway, so it says in our Messiah, Masisa Messiah Rabbi Yisrael is the Bryce which says Rabbi Yisrael, which makes the same dichotomy. He did Elu and the Chasim Shein Yedul about which is property that is not known to husband, Elu Shenafel of that which fell to him, Uval and Nasim Yam when the husband is the Chutzlars. Naflo and Chol Ksafim. What if there fell to her money, cash? It's so interesting what we do with it. Yilakach B'em Karka, we buy with it land, real estate, and he eats the fruit. Becomes like nilsei milok. Peros hatlushim min hakarka. If there fell to her fruit which is already harvested from the ground, same thing. Yikach b'em karka. We buy with them of land. And he eats the fruit. Peros mechubar. What if it fell to her fruit which is connected to the ground? Some Meir said Shomina some kama and yofim beperos. We reckon how much land is worth with fruit. Kayav below Paris, how much land is worth without fruit. Umosar, and the difference, Yilkach Karka, that's her value. You use it to buy land, V'ocha Paris, and he eats the fruit. Not true. Paris Amuchubarim Bakarka, if the fruit is connected to the ground, Shalo, then it is his. But that which is severed from the ground at the time of marriage, or at the time it falls to her, not time of marriage, time it falls to her after marriage. I apologize about that. That which is severed from the ground, that's hers, so Karka, use it to buy land, and he eats the fruit of the land. Okay? Says more, it would seem, Rabbi Yirmiyah says to Rabbi Meir, why must he go like Rabbi Meir? Why must he go like Rabbi Meir? The Rabbi Meir oven Mechubarik Kedusha, Rabbi Meir looks at grapevines which are full of fruit and says that they're considered to be as if they're severed from the ground. And the case which he's talking about, it's a case in Masechta Shavuos, where the question is whether you have to take an oath on grapevines laden with grapes. Of course, you never take oaths on that which is connected to the ground. But if the grapes are fully developed on the grapevines, they're considered to be severed from the ground. Therefore, a mayor allows you to take a shvuah, right?
Does he apply that also by hectares?
I don't remember. It's possible. Do you have a recollection of that?
No. That's intriguing. Old question of the plants sticking out of the kotel.
No, that won't help for this.
Why not? It's not.
You'll see. Won't help. Won't be relevant. So name it. So it must be. There must be that our mission is going like Ray Mayor, because Ray Mayor here in our mission is L'Shitaso, because he says that we look at the pairs Mechubarim Lakarka as if they are considered to be, as if they're considered to be severed from the ground. That's why he said we reckon them and we give her the value. So it says more, Rav Asi said, V'lo Shmiya, have you not heard the Marab Yisrael, that which Rav Yisrael said, Lo Maray Meir, Meir only said that Peres M'chubarim Lakarka, stuff which is considered as if it's Flushim, as if it's severed from the ground. Ella, very famous qualification, appears in the Bavli as well, where the grain is ready to harvest. That's why it's not relevant to the Mos and the Kosa. And grapevines which are about to be harvested. Hashachas, but if it's grain which is still young, shachas means animal fodder, but that's young grain. Young grain, which is not about to be harvested, low. That's not going to be severed. But yet here, here even reckons that through that shachas, that animal fodder is considered to be severed, and therefore it's used for a benefit to buy her land from which you eat the fruit. Rabbi Yirmiyah asked, she does it right, Meir? Contradiction, right, Meir? Sweet, seems to exchange opinion. Tamon meaning no. Yerushalmi. Tamon means here. Here, lo avan mechubrim.
Sometimes it could be there also.
What?
Sometimes Tamon is there in the Yerushalmi.
Sometimes you're right. Tamon, lo avan mechubarim. Oh, no, you know? You're right. I wrote it wrong. Sorry. I don't know why I was so sure the Yerushalmi does it backwards, but I wrote Khan and Shom backwards, but it's not true. You're right. Here, Tamon lo avan mechubarim kedusha. By Shvuah, he only made, my mistake, sorry. You're right, I'm wrong. Tamon lo avan mechubarim kedusha, there by Shvuah, unless it's about to be severed from the ground, unless it's about to be harvested, he said that which is connected to the ground is not considered to be as if it's severed. But Hacha here, Avan Mechubarim Kedusha says even animal fodder, even if it's very early in the stage of its growth, it's considered to be as if it's disconnected from the ground. How come? Some Rabbi Yochanan said, I tell you got it wrong. Los Rabbi Meir Avan Mechubarim Kedusha. Some Rabbi Meir says that which is connected to the ground is as if it's severed. Ella, rather, imataroa kamaktsura. The way the rabbis look at it, they look at it through special glasses. And the side look at it like this. If you see grain as if it's harvested, right? Then it's better for the woman. Saw the shalonizra, if you see a field, because she should get that harvest. Saw the shalonizra, if it's not been planted at all, or you see so as if it's not been planted at all, then you say it's better for the man, right? Because you give him the entire whatever is not planted, you give to him. So therefore, in this case over here, if we have to reckon how much of it was worth before it was planted, the kam now and vice versa, and versus kam yavim mishnizra, versus how much it's worth when it is planted. Achlo nizra itava chad dinar. Now, when before it was planted, it was worth 1 dinar. Mishnizra yofa train dinar, and now that it's planted, it's worth 2 dinar. So we don't know how to look at it, because if we look at it as if it's not yet planted, so it'd be like his. If we look at it as if it's already planted and fully grown, so it's like hers. So what we do is a compromise. What we do is also dina yilokach b'em karka. The difference between its value fully grown and its value empty, right, is a dinar. So we take that dinar to buy a land, vuocha pairs, which belongs to the woman, and he eats the fruit during the lifetime of their marriage. So it's kind of a compromise. It's not really, we see things like mechuber, like tolush, in the sense of the literal sense, which has to do with the Masechta Shavuos. So you can only take a Shavuot on something which is not mechuber l'karka. So if it's mechuber l'karka, you can't take a Shavuot. Here it's how do we look at it from the perspective, again, since these are all the Rabbanos, how do we look at it from the perspective of the benefit of the wife and the benefit of the husband. So we say, if it's fully grown, even if it's, regardless of what it's about to be harvested or not, we look at it as if it's the wife's. Because it felt they're fully grown and fruit is hers, so we look at it as its wife. If it's not fully grown, if it's not grown at all, actually, we look at the husband because actually he has the rights to the land as long as they're married. And there's no real fruit on it, so or the fruit is very small, so then we give it to him. If we have stuff which is somewhat grown, and we can draw a distinction between its value now and its value later on, right? Its value now is 1, its value later on will be 2. So the difference is the dinar between the two. We split them among the two of them to buy land which he can eat the fruit and she gets the land. And the reason we do that is because in this stage, in the middle stage, we don't know exactly how to reckon to whom should go. So what we do is we look at it as if it has two stages in it. The stage where it is now and the stage where it will be when it's fully grown, right? So therefore where it is now, up to where it is now, that the husband gets. What it will advance now till it's fully grown, that goes to the wife. Because we reckon that value, we buy with that value land for which he eats the fruit, but she has the care and the principle, which is the best we can do in giving the wife an advantage. Of course, we never give her absolute outright jurisdiction on the fruit during the life of the marriage, so what we do is just to put the land in escrow for her. Okay? Halacha. Reb Shimon Omer, Mokum Shiyah B'Kochach B'Knisaso. In a place where it's advantageous to him when they go into the marriage, Shru or Kochach B'Tziyaso, it's disadvantageous to him at the end of the marriage, literally when they go out. Mokum Shru or Kochach B'Knisaso, the place where he has less capacity when they go into marriage, he has more capacity and more strength when they go out of marriage. How does it work? Those things which are connected to the ground, when they go into the marriage, shalom, which is good for him. But when they go out of the marriage, shalom, they belong to her, that's good for her. He can't go and cut down all her cherry trees just before divorcing her, right? And vice versa, that which is severed from the ground, when they go into marriage, it's hers, which is to her benefit. But when they go out of marriage, shalom, it's his, i.e., At that point, anything which is harvested already belongs to him. Okay? Now, nice Gemara here. At Omar, you said, Miknisasa Shalom. When they go into marriage, it's his, meaning the fruit which is connected to the ground. Sounds like Machro's son, if she sold him, ain't a Mechurim. It's not a valid sale. Nasan Loris, if she gave the land to a sharecropper, since it's not really his, who mishtapi menu, the husband gets the advantage of it. Also says some bikurim, if she makes her fruit bikurim in this land, since she no longer has really rights to the bikurim, lo kadeshu, they're not made holy. On the other hand, Adomer b'tziyosa shalah, on the way out, the stuff connected to the ground is hers. So at that point, machar osan, if he sold them at that point, Emuchim is not a valid sale. Non-laris, when he gave it to sharecropper, he mishtab she gets the advantage of that deal. She gets the profits. Also some bikurim. What if he made them bikurim? This is actually a new case. Also, some bikurim means, what if a guy made his wife's I'm not so sure about this. I think.
Isn't it just the analogous situation with the previous?
No. I'm pretty sure this is, if he made bikurim anytime, he had no intent of divorcing her, and he had no intent of dying. But he has fruit, he has a land which he has from his wife. It's his wife's land. He has the right to payros. Can you bring bikurim on those payros? You understand why?
He has the right to the payros.
Yeah, but it's not artzucha. In order to bring bikurim, it's supposed to be your land, right? So that's what the Gemara is about to discuss. Look.
So a sharecropper can't bring bikurim?
Mm-hmm.
For some reason.
Landlord. Also some bikurim tiflut Rabbi Yochanan Eish Lakish. Rabbi Shimon Lakish. His power is machlor samachta b'chol tov. You should rejoice in all the good Asher Nasan Hashem l'chat.
So that's my folks. Can't persecute.
Shh, don't give away my material. No, so machta b'chol tov, especially about Bashos. So machta b'chol tov Asher Nasan Hashem l'chat l'veisecha. Rejoice in all the good that Hashem gave you and your household, at the household. Mlamich Adam may be bikurim minichse ishto. A person can be kurim from his wife's property. But only achar misa, after she dies. But not while she's alive. Why? Because kinya peris, like he gave her away, kinya peris not kinya guf. He has the right to fruit, not the right to the actual real estate. So it's not his real estate, he can't bring it, right? Because only when she dies, because then he inherits her, right? Rabbi Yochanan said, Lo shna mi mechayim hilach misa. It doesn't matter if she's dead or alive. He still gets to bring bikurim, right? Because he owns kinya peris is kikinya guf. When you have the rights to the field, to the fruit of the field, it's tantamount to having the field itself. Okay, and therefore he can bring it. Shimon Lakish Kedai, Shimon Lakish says is like he holds elsewhere. The Amar is said, take out the ain. The Korban Ada takes it out, and the big day Sheish has a whole simon about the Yerusha Sabal, and fits very well with taking out the ain. The Reish Lakish holds the Amar Adam Yerish is Ishtam B'dvar Teicha. He holds a man inherits his wife the Raisa. So after her death, it's taking his land that he can bring bikurim. Because he's Yorish or the Raisa. If he's only Yorish or the Rabbanan, he couldn't bring bikurim. At least he might be able to bring, but he couldn't read the parsha, Shonosatu li Hashem, right? Because it's not given to him. The rabbis gave it to him, not Hashem. But now that Yerushalmi bows the Raisa, so then he can read Shonosatu li Hashem. Now, what if he, according to Shimon Lakish, what about during the lifetime? during lifetime of the wife. So that she makes bikurim, it's not kodesh. Al that there should yocham kiddush kichu, they are kodesh. Upakas minak kedushasim, but the kiddusha comes off. Now, the way the Ritbaz learns this, he has a long pimple here, which is cute, but I don't really like it. He said, I don't think it's. Can't accept its veracity. Let's put it that way. But he wants to say that this last mother is going whether she makes it kadosh. And Rabbi Shimon shows if she makes a kodesh, it doesn't work, because he has the rights to the payros, not her. She can't make a kodesh either, so neither they can make kodesh. Rabbi Yochanan holds if she makes a kodesh, he makes a kodesh, it's kodesh because kedusha kinyan pes kinyan guf. If she makes a kodesh, it's kodesh until such time as he uproots it from the ground. Because as long as it's on the ground, b'chubel karka, it's still hers. When it's become his, what fruit becomes his? Actually, the Ritbaz says. When it's harvested. So it's kadosh while it's on the ground, but paka kedushasan when you harvest it. I think that's too cutesy. The way I would learn is like the Pnei Moshe learns it like the Bavli, even though it's not kipshuto. The Bavli learns it so where he took it off the ground. And according to Rabbi Yochanan, of course, it's not kadosh because he doesn't have rights to the ground. Kinyan pesach, kinyan kush. Kuf. According to Rabbi Yochanan, it's kadosh, but they're not fully kadosh. And Pokum and not kedusha doesn't literally make the kedusha fell off, whereas the kedusha is not complete, and therefore he can't. He can bring them to Yerushalayim, but he can't read the parsha of Asher Nasato Li Hashem. And there is such a type of bikurim deraisa. The Gemara Ba'abasa discussed at some length. There's two types of bikurim deraisa. It's not that bikurim deraisa where you can read the parsha, Adom Asher Nasato Li Hashem, and somewhere you can't. So here, a husband in his wife's property, at least as long as she's alive, can bring the bikurim deraisa, because he has the rights to kiperos and kinyan peres, kinyan guf, but he can't read the parsha because it's not his land that he can say Hadam Asher Nasato Li Hashem. So Pakum and Kedusha means the kedusha is there, but it's partially not there. Literally, it blew off because he can't read the parsha. Okay. Halacha Vav. Naflu Abanim Ushvachos, whose K is gaining. She brought into marriage, or rather the photo where she was married, old slaves. Imachu. Now I don't know who's fool enough to buy them, but they're sold. You can look and buy land with them. Who person eats the fruits, because it's like it's hers. Rabbi Shingamil Mer Lotim Kori, she shouldn't sell slaves, or you can't force her to sell slaves. A Shevach Beis Aviyah, because it's the honor of her father's house, because these were the slaves of her great grandpappy down south. So therefore, to sell them is not proper. Now this is also only if they're not making enough to support themselves. You also think they're making enough to support themselves. Everybody agrees that she shouldn't sell them, but they can't sell Shadain covered Beis Aviyah Kain because it's still the glory of her father's household. Glory of father's household is definitely there when it also meets the bottom line. So when the glory of father's household comes into clash with bottom line, then we have a machlokas. Okay? I knew you'd like that. Navla Zaysim Kfarim came. They felt her old, not old slaves, but old olives and grapevines, or olive trees and grapevines. The same idea. Yimach leitzim, sell for wood. Yilokach bem karka, and buy with the profits buy land. V'hu ochel peiros, and he eats the fruit. Shouldn't sell the old grapevines and old olive trees, and they shouldn't shevach Beis Aviyah because they're the glory of the father's house. Same issue. Rabbi Am Sher Barat Hamon said, actually, it's machlokas here. Rabbi Am Sher Barat Hamon, Rabbi Am, named of the rabbis in Bavel, said, Masnis in our Mishnah is Bishanofu or Zaysim. She got the olive trees, the lokakon, but not the land surrounding them. Gefonim, she got the grapevines, the lokakon, but not the land surrounding them. Avi Nafla Zaysim Vikarkon, but if she got the trees with land, Gefonim Karkon, grow grapevines with land, lo takuts. In that case, you can't cut them down and sell them for firewood, even if they're not producing properly. Shadayin shvach Beis Aviyah kayon. still the honor of Father's house, the orchards of the deceased Reb Yankel. It's too injurious to the dear memory of the deceased to sell this property. Okay? Even the grapevines obviously are not properly producing anymore.
The din about not cutting down fruit trees.
As long as they're still producing properly.
Here they're old.
Right, that's where we're ignoring it. Good point. But that's, as long as they're producing properly. Says where Rabbanan Dachar says, Afilu Nafula, Zaysim Karkoim Kfanim, Zaysim Karkoim Kfanim, you've got olive trees and their land, their real estate, Kfanim, grapevines, and their real estate. Nevertheless, despite the fact that she got them intact, since they're old and not producing, lo dami beiseisa the naflu. It's not similar to a true olive orchard which fell to her. Lo dami beis karma the naflu. It's not similar to a true vineyard which fell to her, and therefore you can sell the trees. You don't have to keep the trees. Okay? Says the Gemara, the following Mishnah disagrees with the rabbis in Eretz Yisrael and agrees with the rabbis in Bavel, because it says, "Karmani moicher l'cha," a vineyard I'm selling you, afal pi she'ein subo kfanim, even though it doesn't have any grapevines anymore. I raise a mocher. So I said, I'm telling you my orchard, my grape orchard. They call it my vineyard, right? Sorry, my vineyard. If it's called my vineyard, it's called Beckhoffer's vineyard. It's a sale, even though there are no more grapevines there. If it's called Beckhoffer's olive orchard, it's a sale, even though there are no olive trees anymore. So we see, even without trees at all, could see it be a grape vineyard or an olive orchard. Kal v'chomer, if it's got old trees, right? And surely it should be called an orchard or olive tree or a vineyard. So therefore, it's still shvach beisaviyah, like Rabbanan Tamon said. Even if they're old trees and not producing, you still don't sell them. It's not producing anymore, but it's still shvach beisaviyah because it's part and parcel of the honor and glory of yesteryear.
Maybe it has the potential they can graft some new vines and so on. And
it may be, but even without that,
but it has the potential.
Yeah,
so maybe
it could be, but it doesn't seem that that's the case because we're being arrived from a case where there are no vines at all or no olive trees at all. Now, in the interest of truth in advertising, the pshat I just gave you is the Mechamayim, the Aruch HaShulchan pshat. The Ridbaz is a different pshat here, and the Korban Ebnei Moshe actually changed the Girsa. They changed it to Masnisim Yisrael Rabbanan Dahacha. And they have all sorts of other changes, but the Mechamayim does not make a single change in Girsa, and it reads pretty smoothly. So I'm going with him. So Masnisim Yisrael Rabbanan Tamon Karmani Moichelcho Afal Bishem Bukfanim. It's a raise a mocher. It's sold Shalom Machal Shmo. I'm telling you a name. The website year2000.com is going for $10 million. Talk about it's only a name.
Really?
Yeah. So till now it was a website for Y2K problems, which obviously don't exist. But I actually upset. I spent $17 on a computer program to bring my computer up to Y2K. One of my computers up to Y2K speed. $17 wasted. All right. Fortunately, I didn't stockpile anything else. So Avishai Muvayim raise the machor. Shlomachla Shmo. If I sell you a orchard, I raise the machor. Shlomachalo Ela Shmon. We sold the name. Okay. I wanted the Ridbaz, by the way, I should tell you, when it said before, Lodami Beis Zesot, Lodami Beis Karma, when it fell, it's not considered to be the Naflu because it's about to fall. So it can no longer be considered to be a vineyard or a it's no diabetes is enough. It's not considered to be a vineyard which fell to or olive orchard fell to or. So the way that Ritbal is very strange. I just want to tell you that he says lo demei beis zeso denaflu. It's not the value of a beis zeso which fell to her. Or lo demei beis karmashaflu. It's not the value. So we learned it's not comparable to an olive orchard, and therefore Rabbanan Da'achos told you can sell it. But he learns it's not the value of it. All right. In any event, says Mishnah further. Hamotzi yitzios anichsei ishto. If somebody spends money improving his wife's property, hotzi arbeva chalkima. Let's say he spent a lot of money, a lot of expenditures, and he only ate a little bit. Obviously, he gets the payros. Tough. That's what you get, right? Vice versa. Also, kima, he spent a very little. V'achar bein ate a lot. Oti. That's the concept of me like, right? He can do what he wants. Right? It's tough on her, basically. So it's tough on him. So mashoti oti mashochel. Hoti v'lo. What if he made expenditures and did not get to eat? I guess he got divorced before he got to eat. So then he takes an oath how much he spent. He told him he gets reimbursed for that. Right? Bob Shem Rechib Rashi said, "Afilu lo achal el mole chusla." If he only ate a basketful, that's already considered to be enough. He was reimbursed for his efforts. He doesn't get anything more than that. Okay. Now Rav Asi Amar, it should be Rav Asi said, "Who should they?" In the Sefer of the Mishnah, where it says you can reimburse him. So now, I'm going to learn it like the Pnei Moshe. He changes around the gears to the next line to make it work like the Bavli. If we don't change around the gears, we can probably use a steam shovel and make the Gemara work as written in front of us, but I prefer not to. So he actually says, maybe just because I'm lazy, but I prefer learning that Pnei Moshe that it should say, Shvach Yoser Alotzah. If the improvement of the field was more than the expenditure put into it, then he gets paid the otzah, then he gets paid his expenditure. But if his expenditure was more than the improvement because he invested poorly, he spent more than he actually got out of it, then going back to the Gemara in the fourth line, then you give him the shvach. In other words, that's the principle of the Bavli of Yori L'stei Chaver Shlo B'Shus. If I go down to your field and improve it without your permission, I get whatever less my expenditure or the improvement. Whatever's less I get. Okay, so that's the other Tachtoina. And Rav saying in our Mishnah as well. Don't think that there's any, just because he's a husband, he has some beneficial treatment. Whatever less he gets. If he spent more than he improved it, he gets improvement. If he spent less than he improved it, he gets what he spent. Okay? Says more, Masisa Pliga Lasi. The following Mishnah Bryson seems to argue on Nasi. It says, V'kulam Shamin Lembi Idis. It says, anybody who goes down and works their wife's field, and other cases there which are brought down, you give them the best. Now, Edis means the best real estate. But the connotation of that is obviously we give him Yodel Yonah, we give him more, as much as we can, which means we give him whatever's more, the expenditure or the improvement, not whatever's less, right? So the Kulam Shamim, so it says my Masnisa bin Tia. Interesting, the price is talking about by a field which is made to plant. So that's not your list still stay chaber shelo b'rshus is when I go into your backyard and I plant it with corn. It wasn't made to plant corn. So I give you whatever you give me whatever's less, my expenditure or the enhancement. But if I go down to your field which is made to plant corn and I do the work for you, then how do you have to pay me in that case? What would you guess? Well, the sharecropper. Okay? So, Masnisim in Tia, our mission is talking about, the Bryce is talking about where you planted a field which is made for planting. So, if you get the best, the guy who went down knows the ship gets the best, and he gets the whatever's more, the improvement or the expenditure. Man the Marasi, that which Ravaz is about Babinyan, is a field which was made for building. It was zoned for building, and he went and planted it, so you get whatever is less. Okay. It says more Mastisa Bintia. Mastisa Bintia. You want to say the price is talking about where it's made to plant? How can that be? It said about the brisa that even if you ate a basketful, that's enough. That's considered to be your compensation. Well, if it's like going down to your friend's field planting it, how come a basketful is enough? Amalei, so he said, kam b'shachal, kam b'shlochal, depends. By a husband, that's a special takana. By a husband is a special takana. Oh no, I see what the question. I made a mistake. Let me go back one line. Masisa b'ntia. How can if that's the case of b'ntia? How come he gets whatever's better, more the expenditure or the or the improvement? Whatever he ate, since he's a husband, whatever he ate, that suffices. He doesn't get more than that. Because the special din by husbands, since they have the right to eat, do we get whatever they ate? And even that's a basketful. Even if it's many bushels, they get it, but even if it's only a basketful. It says more, no, you're right. Depends. If he got a chance to eat. So whatever he got to eat, that's his reward. If he didn't get a chance to eat, and it was a field which is made to be planted, then we give him like a sharecropper, and we give him whatever sharecropper would get from the best property, because that's the halacha. Okay? It's only our Mishnah where it says that we give him whatever's less, that's when it was involved in, he went to a field which was not supposed to be planted. Okay, almost finished. A woman, back to Yavamas. This story actually appears in Yavamas itself. Shomeres, word for word. Shomeres Yom Shnafel and Chosim, a woman who got property when she's a raised Shomeres Yavim. Modim Besham Besil both considered she mocheres v'nosenes. If she sold or gave the property at that time, kayam b'di'evet, it's okay. Mesa, what if she dies when she's Shomeres Yavim? Maya Ksuvah, so what do they do with her Ksuvah? In other words, her dowry, and the chosim yenichnas v'yatzimah and her nichse milok. Beishama, probably she goes in and comes out with her. Beishamim yachluku yarshav yarshabal, they split it because we don't know who it should go. So therefore, when in doubt, split it. Beisomim manachosim because kosam, the property remains where it is, meaning ksuva bechezkas yarshabal, the ksuva, which is the dowry which came to the husband, right? That remains with the husband, right? And the nichse which she would have gotten back, that goes to the inheritors, the heirs on her father's side. Okay? Ask Gemara, I don't understand. Here you say, it seems to be a contradiction. In the Reish of the Mishnah you said, if she sold or gave, it's valid, which sounds like she's in charge, right? At least to a certain extent. At the end, which means that all property should be considered under her jurisdiction. But the end of Mishnah said they divided up. So they divided up and says we're not sure whose jurisdiction it's under. So how do we reconcile the Reish and say for the Mishnah? So it says said, hey, that which it says it's valid. The property fell to her before she even became a Shomeres Yavam. So therefore, the Yavam should have no claim on it, because it fell to her before she became a Shomeres Yavam. That which you're not sure of, then that they split up. That's what it fell to her when she was a Shomeres Yavam. So therefore, already the way the corporate says it, if he ain't Zika, then he says that it already has a shaykhus to the Yavam, and that's where we're suffolk. Maybe that shaykhus is strong enough that therefore, if she dies, the Yavam splits it up with the Yerushalmi on the other side. Okay? Period. Naflu, it says Vinaflu, but it should be Naflu. Naflu at Shenatzi Shemeres Yavam. What if the property filter after she came Shemeres Yavam? Vasu Peros Mishnatzi Shemeres Yavam. And it did produce fruit. So Kamosha Naflu Mishnatzi Shemeres Yavam. So this is more of the same thing. That since they felt her when she was a Shemeres Yavam, oh, it's a mistake. I made a mistake. Nafla ad shel, it should mean, a commentator changes it. Nafla ad shelo nase Shemeres Yavam. The property fell to her before she became a Shemeres Yavam. Right? But the fruit was produced when she became a Shemeres Yavam. The fruit was produced afterwards. So that fruit is close enough in Shemeres Yavam. It's like any property which fell to her when she became a Shemeres Yavam, that they split it between the heirs of the husband and the heirs of the wife. And if she sold it with the Eved, it's considered to be a valid sale. Omrei said, the Yavam which we're dealing with here, Beis Shammai, I was not sure, Kibalu or Eina Kibal, was he like a husband or not? Im Kibal, if it's like a husband, Yorish is a call, he should inherit everything, right? Im Ein Kibal, if he's not like a husband, Lola Yorish Guma, she inherit anything. Why should he inherit anything, right? We saw Vikach Loki Yerushalmi Kesuvos. So as we saw, they split it up. The Beis Hillel, that's Pshitlu Shu Kibal. He holds that it's obvious that the Yavam is like a husband. Therefore should inherit everything. So why doesn't he get the Nichsei Milog? Shafilu Ach, even the deceased brother, her husband, Ein Lo Oleh El Achilas Peres Vad. He didn't own the Nichsei Milog. What right did he have in Nichsei Milog? Property which she would have gotten taken out with her if she would widowed or divorced. He just had the right of Achilas Peros. So that's a Beis Shammai. Beis Hillel says everything goes to the husband's family except for the Nichsei Milog, which the husband's family never really had a true ownership on. And that her heirs get. Okay? So it says, time Rabbi Yeshua. Rabbi Yeshua says, Yerushalmi Kesuvos, the heirs will inherit Ksuva, meaning the Yavam's family. Chayav Mikras, they have to bury her. Rabbi Yeshua said, Yeshakech. He loved it, these Rabbi Yeshua. If Rabbi Yeshua not told us this, we would have had a question. Just because she has no Ksuva, does she not get buried? The Kasha. Would you actually ask a question like this? A woman doesn't have a Ksuva, Shema and Lakfur, do you think she doesn't get buried? Of course, the Yavam's family has to bury her. What's the Shiloh? Says, no, there's a Shiloh. A regular wife, even though she doesn't get a ksuva for whatever reason, she was meichelet, she was mekachto, she was a bula, whatever. Nevertheless, yesh l'kfura, she's buried because she's a wife. But here, yesh l'ksuva, yesh l'kfura. Here, was she actually related to the Yavam? No, never related. Well, except for Zika, right? But it wasn't true husband. It wasn't true husband, right? He says.
What about Arusa?
What? Arusa, I don't remember. I forgot. I'm sure we saw it a few days ago, but I don't remember exactly.
Because everything seems to be going along in the same.
Yeah, but no. But the Pnei Moshe Yevamah says that he can say that which I inherit. I might have thought he could say that which I inherited is the property is not because I inherited her. I inherited my dead brother. So therefore, he might want to get out of doing the kvura. And that could be even with Zika. It could be Zika, he takes over his dead brother, but he never fully married her. Maybe you're right. Maybe it must be a Rusi Nachai Kvura. It must be only the Suah. I don't know if I can find it that quickly, but let me just finish. So here, Taka, the only reason he has to bury her is because he inherited her ksuva. Taka here, Ein Lo Ksuva, where he had no ksuva, she had no ksuva for him to inherit. Ein Lo Kvura, she would not have gotten buried. So therefore, this is over here. Taka would have said and not for the ksuba, he would not have had to bury her, again, because he never was fully her husband. Let's just see if we can find the, look at this halacha. It'll be in the 50th,
Must have been Thursday when I wasn't.
No, yeah. No, it was a while ago. I mean, it could have been when you weren't here anyway. Tashmish Amita, fine. Malachos, that's fine. Maisi Yadayim. Truma. Suva. It's a good question. Here, it's on page, I found it. It's on Kof Ches Amud Aleph. A long time ago, he says, yeah. It just says, Nises, yes, or about Shu, Eichel Peres, but Chayev, Chayev is on a set, Pirkonik Frosa. Not Chayev for Varusa. Only Nises. So it's very good in comparison with Charusa and Shavuos Yava. Shkoyach. It's worth waiting that extra 2 minutes.